Greetings, I am Lies and I use she, her.
And I am Scandal and I use they, them.
And let's play a game together.
Yes.
What did you find? The doctor, perhaps? Says Nadia, not imperiously as she looks. And concerned. She looks like imperious and concerned all at once. Beleaguered hope glimmers in her eyes. Asra and I look sidelong at each other. No? Wait, what do we say to that?
You didn't find the doctor, or we found something worse. I mean, you didn't. The thing is, this has been like...
We didn't even look for the doctor, so I would tend to say we found something worse, because it doesn't sort of lie about our focus.
Yeah.
I think Kohai going, well, we didn't find the doctor, would sound a little sarcastic.
Yeah.
That would be Kohai's thing of going, ha! So probably...
So I should come to you with something at least?
Yes, and also, I feel like Kohai, while it hasn't been a big focus in this route that we're actually working for and have been hired by Nadia, that's so not awkward. Something that the MC seems invested in or is talked about at all. Oh. So they seem less connected to it than Nerd was, which Nerd was a very diligent worker for Nadia. I think it would be, I would like to offer you something because I've basically done nothing on this job so far.
You're right, I have a thing.
Yeah, so we found something worse. Something worse.
Potentially, but we seem to have made it here before the swarm.
Even though we saw the swarm, sort of circling the castle, we are here before it got here. It was circling from a distance, I guess.
What swarm?
Sorry, that's the one Asra talked about. Asra?
One of them tried to dodge this thing.
I will push it back on, except for Kohai going, you said we shouldn't say certain things, but I don't know what those are, so you take it. Uh-huh. It's all you. Before the what?
We found red beetles, the ones that everyone thought were gone.
Mm-hmm. And I've just learned that they existed at all.
What?
So, I think he's revealing something new here, something that hasn't been discussed, because Kohai has only just learned about red beetles.
Yeah, no.
And we got the story from the young individual in the desert going, yeah, so they were all out here causing a huge problem. Then, Lucio came and just shoved them all into the ground, and it was fine.
Fine.
And he said, good enough. I guess.
I guess. Thoughts were gone.
My word. Red beetles. I have never gotten my hands on a live specimen.
Our hands might be full soon. We've unearthed a whole nest of them northeast of here.
We actually, I don't know if it was a nest, but we did unearth a lot of them. And I don't know that we actually unearthed them because they didn't come out of the earth. They kind of just appeared through the earth. So it's like they were stored in maybe a little pocket dimension under the earth somewhere. And then
a pocket dimension that was also plugging, a water spout.
Somehow the not quite in the dirt thing that wasn't actually there was plugging a thing that was there. Maybe the water comes from a pocket dimension.
Comes from the water dimension.
Exactly. So basically, someone's like, I want to live out in the desert, and I'm a bougie old wizard. You know what? 2,000 years ago or something. Mm-hmm. I'm going to build a fountain right here. There's no water. Fuck you. I'm going to create a hole into the water dimension. There, fountain for me.
Honestly,
Done.
though, based on everything that I know, that sounds exactly like D&D wizards. That was
does.
always the excuse where they're like, yeah, this eccentric wizard has this weird magical object that can pour water endlessly. This thing will infinitely light stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Or just going, you find this place in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's a massive, thriving city. No imports or exports, no roads leading to this place, and it's fucking huge. This place was started by a batshit crazy wizard. I believe it.
Yeah, that's the joke that I remember from D&D.
I honestly love those little segues in any roleplay, really, of just being the explanation is, it doesn't help your goal, so it's not necessarily Deus Ex Machina, but it is stuff way bigger than you that you're not going to understand. Enjoy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It is fine.
The northeast of here.
They flew up out of the ground. Into my face.
I was active. I was involved.
See, I was also... I saw them too, basically. A lot. Very close to me. I got a very good look. They have 6 legs.
and I think they are headed this way. I'm not going to say that they are literally in the sky, and you should technically be able to see them floating around the castle.
Don't look up, and don't look out the window of your tower when you are up.
So suddenly we're going to be doing Matt Damon in the movie.
Don't look up. It's okay, as long as no one looks up, it will not be a problem. We'll be just fine. Because I'm really sure you're like, there they are, over the castle. My goodness. That is 1,000 times worse news than I expected. I may have to quarantine you both. The beetles weren't actually inside of my face, just up like in front of my face. I don't have beetles, I promise. Guests have already begun to arrive. What can we possibly do to stop a swarm of insects? Bugs. Birds. Birds eat bugs? Maybe a lot of birds. Fly catchers. Beetle catchers? What's a type of bird that eats bugs? You can get anything, right? You're the countess.
Right? This is how it works. This is what Asra told me.
A giant spider web. And spiders? Spiders like to eat beetles? Maybe?
I love to.
I have so many solutions. I don't know how you would do any of them.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I can't do it.
It's fine.
Did somebody say a swarm of insects?
Someone did.
Yes.
2 of the countess's courtiers appear, their presence making my pulse start to rise. I rack my brain for their names,
But
even though
I
the
remember
prompt
one of them.
just told me. My reader knows one of their names, but I don't. Never mind, I do remember. The first is Procurator Volta, who cowers eagerly to NADIA'S side. The first one is voiced by my good friend here, and the second one is voiced by my good friend here, and both are quite intense voices.
They are.
Together.
And if you don't
At
know,
last.
so at the moment, our cooling system at the house that we both live in is out, and it's toast right now, and we're not going to get it fixed until like the middle of next week. And my whole brain is just like, it's so hot. So we're trying to record this at the library, and we're having to be quiet.
So that we don't
These
die
characters
of
are
heat.
not quiet.
NADIA'S side. The second is Pontifex Vulgara, crushing a beetle in their merciless metal grasp. But Nadia wanted that beetle alive, how dare you? What?
What?
Why do they have a beetle? What kind? I guess it's not a red one, because I would have specified maybe one of the red beetles?
Also, how do you know it was a beetle if you're crushing a thing? Was it a huge...
It's
how can you
so
identify
big.
a thing...
I can see it in their gauntlet, and it unnerves me. There is loud crunching, and perhaps other noises.
My house has been infested with these things. They've been coming in on an easterly wind.
See, I told you, Asra said they were already here around the castle, but he said they were not here too, so...
Actually, no, Asra said specifically going like...
They're on their
the
way.
Yeah.
I said they were here, and I was trying not to contradict Asra, but they agree with me, so...
Oh, shit.
So they might be here, probably. They have. For how long?
For about 1 hour, which is why I have arrived at the party early and furious.
And
Are
apparently...
you proud of me?
Ready to murder beetles? Nadia only cared about a live specimen for about a half a second. Did anyone else notice you killing the thing?
And I, Countess, have arrived early and so very hungry. Oh, what is this? Your magicians are multiplying.
Not currently, but it is something that some people do. Oh, you were talking about how there are 2 of us now. Yes, there are not 2 of us, but I don't know that we belong.
Does that mean that you just called Asra your baby?
Mm,
He's here with no baby?
No,
Asra is here with no baby.
but I was saying that under the proper circumstances, some people can have babies together, and if they are both magicians, then perhaps it would be a baby magician.
Well, anyone can learn how to be a magician.
So there you are, then it would definitely be a baby magician, and we would have multiplied. Because why would you not teach them what you know? Anyway, keep going.
Procurator Volta, I remember you. You have a sharp nose.
I will describe one thing about you, and it is not, and you can figure out for yourself whether it's a sense or a feature.
I was going to say, like, which part of with a sharp nose in what way? Well, if you play the other routes, you understand that this is supposed to be, I believe, a reference to the fact that the Volta has the ability to sniff out almost any food ever. Like, that is just her experience. She goes, there is food, I find. My nose
I can
will find
smell it. From a mile away. I want it now.
Yeah, like that is just her.
But can you smell things that could be interpreted as food to perhaps not a regular food? Like, can you smell the beetles?
Cannibalism? I mean, what?
You would smell the plague.
That's fascinating. Like, in general, in the air as a germ, when people had it, when it was on them? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, in the river? On the beetles? How
are we talking about, like, vapors? Like
smell the plague.
What?
Okay.
Smell the plague.
Yes, the scent of oncoming death makes my starving teeth water.
Because most things when they die are turned into food. I mean, all food is dead. Yes, I think it's dead.
No. Carrot juice is murder.
Your work separating beplagued, thank you. Your work separating beplagued food from plagueless was essential, Volta. I could not eat infected food. It would be terrible for my complexion. Not to mention my life.
It might kill you too.
It's okay. If you know anything about any disease ever, it's more important to society whether or not it affects you aesthetically than it is, functionally.
Honestly, fair. A lot of it does seem to care too. It's always entertaining to me in a world you can kind of tell what the priorities are of how much they're like, oh no, if we mess up too much of their looks, that has to be like, oh, it's real serious, basically. Oh no. But it has to be something that's easily fixed.
So I have to say, for myself, I was one of the last kids I ever knew to get the chickenpox. Because I don't know when the vaccine came out. I don't think it's been that long, but it wasn't something my family had access to or knew about because we weren't like that on top of things, or I was in the wrong grade or whatever. At any rate, so I actually got chickenpox, and a lot of people are like, you've actually had chickenpox? I have some scars from it. I don't have a problem with them, but it is definitely a thing that I know is there on several places, and I can totally point them out to people. But that is apparently one of the big concerns, not that chickenpox in very rare cases can kill you, but very rare cases. It's just it will scar you. And I've heard people talking about monkeypox, which is a thing right now as of the making of this video, and going, it's so terrible it will scar you. And I'm like, it's actually a lot more deadly than chickenpox, and so I would be more concerned about survival. Plus, we have really, providing you have access to medical care and you have access specifically to dermatology, you can correct so many scar things now. Oh my god, take your life over worrying about your aesthetics. Just live, please. Volta and Volgora, your enthusiasm on the battlefield has also been valuable to this house. What battlefield?
What question?
Nadia?
Hang on. Hasn't Laura mentioned that we have
the beetles are very small, so I can't fight them on the battlefield. That's not the same activity. Are we one at war? Did we used to be at war? And do we have a battlefield? We just have one that we use, a sports arena kind of thing? Because you say it the battlefield, which could be the sort of concept of it, but also sounds a lot like the object of it.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
So, I wonder if you would like to unleash it upon those beetles. I'm going to say again that battlefield, a large sword is not going to do a lot, or a mace, or perhaps a flail, a spear, is not going to do a lot against a swarm of beetles. Even her hands crushing things, if the beetles are flying...
Her?
Sorry, there. I know what I meant.
Okay, I was like, who's the her?
They know her. I was looking at Nadia, so you know.
Yeah.
Even their hands, crushing things would probably not work well against... When I say swarm, maybe swarm sounds small to you. Maybe a legion. Maybe,
A country's worth.
Yeah,
a city-state's worth.
A lot more. Asra, what's a bigger term for an amount of beetles?
I don't know, unleash it on those beetles.
Now that you mention it, I don't even know why I'm there when I could be eradicating every single one of them.
If they've been in your room and you've been upset about it, and you even brought one here to kill in front of us, and it makes you happy to kill them, why would you ever leave your room in the first place? What brought you here? If you weren't summoned, why are you here?
Why are
you here? Right.
And I could be snacking Disposing of the remains.
Honestly, if they're a good food, they're full of protein, go right ahead.
I mean, that's the thing, actually. Some animals, they're like, so you can eat them in specific ways, but if you eat them in other specific ways, the bad things happen.
So there are plenty of, like, vegetables that you can't eat without cooking because they will be poisonous before cooked, or you can only eat certain parts of them and things like that. But, like, a lot of beetles, a lot of bugs are completely edible and completely harmless. Now there obviously are some that aren't, but like there are tons of them. Like people have lived off of insects as a large part of their diet for a great period in history.
And there are people who still do.
Yes.
Like it is culturally a thing, and they've actually even talked about it, going like, you want to help basically with sustainable food and stopping CO2 emissions, which is largely done by the meat industry.
Bugs.
Bugs.
Actually, they've been experimenting with cricket flour for a while, a high protein flour made from crickets.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Which makes me a little uncomfortable, only because, unfortunately, I have exactly one phobia that I'm aware of, and it is dead bugs.
And I know, and it's the one I've never even heard of before.
Like, it is not live bugs, it is not bugs in general, it's not, like, specifically like insects or arachnids, it is just dead the category of bugs, arachnids, insects, all of those things. I even sometimes have a hard time with dead crustaceans, because they're a lot like bugs.
They're sea bugs, so that's fair.
So, but I don't know where it comes from, and I have tried really hard to get over it. It is some kind of impenetrable psychosomatic at the moment. I have a major discomfort and like fear in response to dead bugs. I've had nightmares about dead bugs.
And that's all it is.
So there we go.
So my friend basically is afraid of zombie bugs.
That too. Like in my various nightmares, let's learn a tiny bit about the history of Lies' dream world here. In the various recurring nightmares that I've had, which aren't super common, but definitely recurring, about dead bugs, it's always some level of they're dying or aren't quite dead or are mostly dead. And there's this sort of like pervasive fear of I cannot tell if it's dead or alive, or the incalculable suffering of not understanding its anatomy and not knowing what's going on in the, sort of twitching, half alive, or mostly dead, or zombie state.
Right.
And I don't know that that's what's actually happening in real life, but that's where the dreams go.
And you're like, thanks, I hate it.
Anyway, so I might be bad at eating bugs if it comes to the end of the world to eat bugs, but if they're disguised sufficiently, I might be okay.
Yeah, it's a thing that we can work on. It'll be good.
Disposing of the remains.
Splendid. Please do that. Keep me informed. Are you going to somehow pull all of them into your room, an entire swarm? If they're out around the castle, but they've been bothering you at your room, how do you plan on collecting all of them? Go right ahead.
I wonder, honestly, so the thing is I've never really seen Volta and Volgura as being very sneaky. So I find this to be very unusual. If, like, they're being genuinely honest about we'll go and attack the very things that seem like they aid us, because the beetles seem more deeply connected to them, like, just because they're all the courtiers, they have some connection to them in general, right? Okay. So it's like, why would you go and why would you be trying to kill the things that are from you?
I don't know that they're connected in that way. We haven't learned anything about... So we know that the courtiers wear little beetle brooches, and that they all have knowledge of the beetles and are interested in them in different ways.
What if it's Valdemar specifically? Maybe that's actually a thing. Because remember, Valdemar showed up in the swarm of beetles as that other form?
And Valdemar also has some sort of beetle husbandry going on in the basement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's actually then just Valdemar, but would they attack each other?
The thing is they don't ever seem to be working together. They just seem to have a job adjacent to each other.
That's fair.
Which is also interesting here, because while you do see Volta and Vorgor together a lot, they don't ever seem to be working together. They just seem to be they certainly are standing next to each other.
Yeah, which is strange, because then it's also like, so why did you originally even come here? Like my friend said, so why are you even here to begin with? Because this just seems now like we just came in because this is where the plot needs to go.
Or I ran in going, there's bugs in my room and it's irritating and I want to tell you about it. Well, you could be killing them yourself. God, I love killing them. What a great idea. You were already killing them. Wouldn't you have thought of that yourself? No, I don't do thinking.
I mean, but also, like, Volgora seems to get very distracted into bloodlust, basically.
Yeah, so if you're in your room killing insects, I feel like you would stay involved in it.
Also, it sounds like you wouldn't really be upset about it. You'd be like, this is fine. I love this. I'm committing murder. I finally get to commit all the murder I want to today. And this is NADIA'S face, and this is Lucho's face, and this is this person's face, and this is Valdemar. This is
every irritation I've ever had. Smash, 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 smash.
But I'm just like,
That's not very nice.
on the other hand, if in fact, Volta's the little one?
Yeah, Volta's
Yeah,
a
if
little one.
Volta sees that as food, it's
She's
like,
very small.
it's like, then it's just Volgora's cooking.
Yeah.
You're just prepping these things for me to consume.
Delicious.
On the ground, just licking them up.
It's fine. I mean, the thing is like, I am kind of curious, though, being like, that's also why I've been so confused why they've been able to do anything, and why it was kind of funny, honestly, that I think about it in Julian's route, where even though we ran through the maze and we were going after everybody else, it was really only Valdemar that really seemed to have any sort of coordination to do anything, which is also like, again, why are these other three stooges here?
Again, it's like, what jobs do they have? Do any of them actually do those jobs at all? And again, if Nadia hasn't been there, it doesn't matter if they're doing those jobs, so long as nobody fires them and tries to replace them. And if we had someone, Lastamil? Or is...
Lastamil's like,
the...
Frollo.
Sorry, if you had, a pretty boy, Umber Hair, standing in as a regent, is there any reason...
Fucking brain, I can't remember his name right now.
That person,
That dude.
that individual would not fire the useless people?
I'm so deeply tired.
And so put upon... pretty much. It's a lot of work to be me. I see.
Alright.
Please keep me informed. It's okay, Asra, we've solved it. My heartbeat stops climbing as the courtiers turn to depart. Then Asra calls out from my side.
Volta, before you go, smell Kohai and I for the plague, please.
Oh, that's fine, I guess.
Hold on.
Do you think we might be sick just by being near the beetles? And also...
Well, he doesn't want to get quarantined. But also, like, what I think is funny is it's like, you have a really sharp nose. How sharp is it? And do people just believe that people just have that ability? Like, you can just smell plague on people? Which also, unfortunately, I will say, typically what that was is just people smelling dirty.
Well, what I was going to say is there's a question for me of going, how do you prove that skill? Is it like, I smell plague on you, and then 2 days later they look really, really sick, and so people go, oh, I believe you because of proof of concept or proof of work kind of thing. But then at what points are you having I will see this and test it several times, which I imagine would take time, and then go, you'll be the royal food sniffer. We're going, I smell plague on this food.
I do.
Oh, it's there. And then going, how do I know there's plague on this food? Do I then feed it to a lab rat and see if the lab rat gets the plague?
Do I feed it to a servant I hate? You, here, come here, try
Eat this food.
Now stay in quarantine for 3 days.
Yep, 2 weeks.
But
2 weeks.
Like, okay, so Volta didn't just do that. I remember there was the thing about going, they can smell, they were there looking for poisons. It wasn't just about plague. So it's like...
And the thing is you can...
This is just weird. How do you...
I want to know the level of science to some degree, going, okay, if you can smell the plague, can you then, like, pick up the food and, chemically break it down and, test tube it and go, yes, there is traces of the virus here.
But the question is, okay, so if we're saying to some degree, I don't know how much, honestly, the humors/vapors thing really still applies, because it seems like they're also really inconsistent with it, because part of the thing that you believed was that if you're going to smell a thing going to make you sick, right? So you would try to have nice smelling things all the time when you were, royalty. I will keep away the bad things.
Right.
So I'm like, so where does then Volta even fall with that? Of going, I can smell things and I never get sick? Wouldn't that be considered to be like a fucking superpower?
Kind of, or it'd be like, we should keep you quarantined all the time and you don't get near us or breathe on us even though you're the food smeller. Because you're getting exposed to this constantly, I guess. So that would be a question as well. But anyway, forth we go.
Please.
She stops, blinking her watery eye. She creeps towards us and inclines her head.
Incline up or down?
It leans her head in the appropriate direction.
Because we can't tell you how tall you are, except you're going to be told that you are smaller than everyone.
Then the love interest. It's okay. Asra offers his hand, like as to a small dog, and her nose roves thoroughly over his open palm. Maybe as like to a horse? Why would you...
No plague.
You look so concerned about that. Deeply concerned that there's no plague. He sighs. I assume in relief. Not like, I guess I don't have the flag. He sighs.
I can't go to that plague party I wanted to.
Like, damn, I'm not infected. I won't get in the door.
They can tell. I won't get those cool red eyes for my costume.
I feel like there should be some sort of emotional indicator to what kind of a sigh that is. It would be nice.
Know.
Nodding in encouragement. I swallow, throat suddenly dry, and hold out my hand. Volta sniffs my palm, huffs and sniffs more deeply, between my fingers and over my wrist. I nearly jump when she sneezes.
Smells sweaty. It's okay, sweetie. Sweaty.
Okay. I didn't realize I was sweating. At least you don't look nearly as distressed as when you smelled Asra. Quite true. I must invite both of you to bathe at the earliest convenience.
You smell sweaty.
So, I've never mentioned it before, and I probably won't mention it again, but both of you seem filthy, and I can smell you from here.
You know what you are, dear? You reek.
Disgusting.
Corazon.
Corazon, oh my
It's fine side of the cross.
Nerd constantly watching Julian a little bit with trepidation, going, you are so caked in so many things. So
I don't even know how
many.
I don't know how attraction could even start. You're a walking. Yes.
You're walking
You're like-
petri dish?
Yeah.
Maybe?
I know what a petri dish is.
You've been through so many different experiences of fluids and substances and
stabbing
blood is a fluid and a substance, so you've had blood and drool and sweat and sand and dirt and all kinds of things on you.
Regret.
And it's sat there and you've slept in it and then it's happened again. And the day has been hot.
Oh, and you're wearing
the same clothes all the time. The earliest convenience.
Takes a step back.
Thank you, Volta. Volgora, we will be in touch. Once dismissed, the courtiers skitter away. I think only one of them probably skitters, honestly, because they really move quite differently from each other. Nadia gives us a wide-eyed look, sipping her tea until they've gone. So, a swarm of insects. I must admit, of all my nightmares, I did not foresee this one coming.
Coming true.
Coming true. Sorry, coming true.
You said your sleep was disturbed last night, Countess. Was it nightmares?
Yes, even though I actually didn't sleep at all last night, based on my description of the tea. When I slept this morning, it was like last night. Yes, I believe they may be related to stress. The masquerade is only 3 days away. And guests are already arriving for a thing that has not been scheduled. But it's okay. I love how in every route the masquerade is scheduled but not scheduled because it's contingent on something happening that you don't know when is going to happen. But nonetheless it's scheduled, assuming that thing will happen. Or I guess you could just put it off going, it was tonight but it's not. And everyone's here to just house more and more and more guests until you
actually throw the party.
Wow.
Yeah.
The nearer it grows, the more my subconscious haunts me. The images become more vivid.
Okay, so speaking of cultural things, there's actually lots of cultures who use dreams very differently than we do in what I would say, quote, our modern times. So this is really weird because I'm like, are you implying that NADIA'S culture has had more access to dreams or knows what a subconscious is or even has those words?
I was going to say, the idea of having a label for a subconscious is interesting. And talking about it in reference to dreams is also interesting. But again, suggesting more research and technology.
But it's also like even in other cultures, they'd be like they could come from these things, but also they could be portents of specific,
They could be gifts. They could be information. They could be
they could have
guides to yourself.
They could have really strong cultural value, like a moral maybe that you need to learn, or an ancestor coming to warn you about something, or whatever it was.
Yeah, specifically going, my subconscious is haunting me sounds odd.
Yes. Do you remember them when you wake? Do you think you could describe them?
All of them? Every dream you've ever had? I guess. The Countess's hands twist in her lap, her jaw tight. Then she leans forward and speaks in quiet.
A
quiet, sleepless voice.
It dropped a whole word.
What is a sleepless voice?
I don't know.
A tired voice, maybe?
Sleep. She is very energetic suddenly. A sleepless voice. Oh, she is wide the fuck awake. She is on board. She is...
No sleep. It sounds silly to put it in words. The places are not always the same. But the creature...
Creature? My god,
creature?
Asra.
Key to creature. Creature?
Creature? Also, Asra, let her talk.
Yeah. Also, I'm like, can you describe them to us? All of your dreams ever. I have different dreams, but I didn't think this one would come true. I'm going to describe all of them as one thing. We assume that we know that all of them are connected, period.
Sorry.
The goat. White, red eyes. Does it sound familiar? Of course. I sneak a glance at Asra's profile while he clings to the Countess's half-whispered words. Him clinging sounds very odd.
Sleepless, and then suddenly her going to, I'm half-whispered. So it's this sort of, hi, so I need you to know this thing. And it's like, oh, is she not speaking with complete awareness and alertness for the day? Or enthusiasm?
She's going it's a very controlled whisper. We're speaking in confidence.
With red eyes. Yes, I need you to, and I'm like, what? You needed to say that earlier, before she spoke.
Half-whispered words, but also like, again, Asra clinging to anything sounds very odd.
It does.
Unless it's physically to us, under the right circumstances.
Right.
In my dreams, it wanders the palace, screaming, striking the walls. I saw it in the kitchens last night. But we'll have to find out what it might have been doing in the kitchens last night. In the next one.
Hey. So thank you very much, everybody, then, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also share our videos. We really appreciate all the things you guys have done so far.
Absolutely.
Again, all the people who've come in, we've had some great conversations, has been due to you, because without you, the algorithm is an unholy beast, as far as I know.
Unless there is engagement, no one ever sees this.
Pretty much. Which is also okay. This is also partly about, saving basically our conversations, our thoughts, basically our process, and also learning more about each other, or learning more basically about...
Friendship is go!
Yeah! So, please also feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi, Patreon, and our Twitch. There are links in the description down below. We'd love to see you there, and I have been Scandal.
I have been Lies.
And it was great playing with you. Bye!
Bye!